Alrighty, we get to see Tord's side as well. It's always nice seeing Tord's side of the field. Obviously, we see both sides pretty nicely,
Yeah.
but seeing him look through the discard piles and look through his own deck and stuff, you can actually learn a lot from what he's thinking just by seeing what he's looking for throughout the entire game. Kicking off is always nice in Mirror. Obviously, you're the first one to evolve. You're oftentimes the first one to initiate the trade with Tina's. And he's got himself at least a Ditto Stadium Cynthia start, which isn't the worst.
Yeah, a pretty solid start for Tord against the Giratina, which is obviously going to be a bit awkward for Pedro to lead off with. Not the ideal Lily you want, but I'm sure this Cynthia pulls through for him, and there's not much more you can ask for, right? It's not the super stellar start, but it's also not underwhelming at all.
Mm-hmm. He can get a couple Psychics in the discard pile if he chooses to go for an Ultra Ball play. He's going to check if he has his other Stretcher in deck, if he has enough Malamar to see him throughout the game to see if this Ultra Ball's safe. He's already made his turn 1 attachment to an Inkay though, so he may just hold on to this for extra Mallies for next turn, which seems to make the most sense in my eyes. But yeah, it's a pretty good start for Tord. Enough Inkays down for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And now we're going to see Pedro try and match that. He has the Nest Ball, he has an Ultra Ball, so he can definitely get 2 out. Don't think you would ever Erika's here, right? You definitely have to drop down that Lele and go for the Lily, I assume.
You have to be concerned about the one putting down GXs, especially when you're going second.
Yeah.
But an Erika for 3 sounds pretty sketchy. And as you can see from both players' lists, they're playing double Lele because essentially they don't... they're sort of fearful of their own deck. They know how clunky this deck can be if you're not firing on all cylinders. So I think that's an indication that he may go for the Lele here because they basically don't trust Malamar to be consistent enough on its own. They've tried to go for double Lele so that they can make sure that they're doing the right things every turn.
Yeah, we see the Ultra Ball. Both players have already lost some Metal Energy, which not too relevant when there's a Viridian Forest in play, but they also can't just discard them. And yeah, Pedro choosing to go for the Erika's. Interesting.
He gets another Inkay. No attachment from him though. A little bit slow. But he's really valuing not putting down Lele. He may be forced to do it next turn though, based on how his hand ends up. Tord now can pitch more energy if he wants to. He has an opening Ultra Ball that can get him into another Malamar or a Tina.
Yeah.
He could Ultra Ball for Tina and then just forest it away even as an option.
Yeah.
That way he can get a second Psyche in the discard pile. Then he can Lily for a nice number of cards.
Yeah, I think that would be the right play, right? I was just thinking, like, Stretcher, this is not a matchup where you can easily just get back-to-back Kuzmas at all. So it's not going to be about eliminating your opponent's Malamars and limiting them that way, I would say. It's going to be more about the price trade-off of Giratina versus Giratina. And Tord definitely has a really good shot at getting ahead in the price count here.
It was interesting that he went for the Malamar. I was just trying to think of outs in his deck. He has those Nest Ball outs, but he had physically higher amounts of Malamars in his deck. So I think it may have just been a difference of literally one card, what was more likely to hit the Tina or the Malamar. Nevertheless, he gets into both now, which is pretty awesome. So he can guarantee the first Shadow Impact of the game.
Yeah. Pedro will get the first Distortion Door of the game, though, after this knockout. So
that's true.
That could come into play.
Tord taking his time, thinking if he wants to maybe Forest. He's also got Nest Ball potential. And had he had searched out the Giratina, he could have forested, and Tord would have been the one to get the first Distortion Door.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
Yeah, but after we see
route.
this, he wouldn't have gotten the knockout, right? So
Yeah, I mean, sure, but if you're thinking about the number of outs, it was basically the same, and it would have been stronger to get a Distortion Door in first.
yeah, that's true.
But Tord gets the right cards. He
Just
takes
the right
out
card.
first, which feels good.
And we've seen him win games by only playing one Lily, so definitely those two Kuzmas I'm sure are gonna put in the work for him here. And honestly, it's not common for you to go back-to-back Kuzmas, but avoiding the Giratina KO means you avoid the Distortion Doors as well. So Tord's play these next couple of turns could generally be get back the Giratina, Kuzma KO, get back the Giratina, Kuzma KO, gets him more damage counters in play.
That's the beautiful simplicity of Malamar with Giratina now. You can just plan out your next 4 turns based on your board alone. It doesn't matter what hand you have. So... Tord already.
Yeah.
Excuses in chat. Amazing. Well, Pedro's had to put down Lele. Get the Ditto. He just finds himself a heap of energy cards.
Not what you want to see. And
no more Mallies. That's a really rough draw.
Yeah, I think Pedro going to go down 2 prizes in this mirror match. Oof.
Never feels great. When you're basically trying to do the same thing to each other, being 2 prizes behind is a wide margin.
Yep.
Are we ever going to see a Hypnosis here? Yep. It feels like the risk. You have to try and get back ahead.
Yeah, you have to stop your opponent.
Poggers! I mean, it's a Guzma anyway, but make him have it, right? That's where you gotta do it. I mean, you have to. It's literally the only, there's no other play. Pedro there.
There's no other play. The issue is if you fail that flip, or rather, if Tord wakes up, then knocking out the Inkay means you're still not going to attack next turn unless you top deck a Malamar.
I mean, to be honest, I can see Pedro's already in scoop mode.
Yeah.
By just how the board looks. So I think the Hypnosis, he's only doing this saying I won't scoop if Tord flips tails at least. I'll at least wait to see the Guzma before I concede.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it feels like.
Pedro imploring in chat for Tord not to play the Guzma, but then Tord being very mean and playing the Guzma.
He's going to also reset that Inkay for a retreat if he needs to. Tor can keep digging deeper and getting more Psychics in the bin if he wants to. Forest stays the entire game, but he's going to hold it for now.
Yep.
Just take another prize. Keep damaging his own Tina.
The energy sticking on that Inkay does mean that Pedro will be able to get a return KO finally thanks to that stretcher. But still, his game plan off of that hand, not looking very strong. That definitely helps in stabilizing him, but if the game comes down to just Giratina versus Giratina the whole game, I don't foresee Tord whiffing here too much.
Yeah, if Tord can just keep getting around Distortion Door, not letting Pedro into that out, he's pretty much got it locked in at the moment. Pedro with some very unfortunate opening draws. A turn 1 Erica, then having to put down a GX and still getting pretty much air from the Cynthia. Really doesn't leave a good taste, really, for him. Things look rough. Pedro's starting to power up the Lele by the looks of things.
Yeah.
Finish off the Giratina. So that goes to 3. So if Tool goes to 2, that's still fine. If he is to put down his own GX here.
Yeah, Pedro's only comeback play, I believe, would be a huge Sky Scorching Light, but he's not even attacking with the Giratina in order to get it KO'd and then establish more damage counters on the board. So I think it's looking a bit dicey for him right now.
Pedro's just in Facebook. He's completely uninvested in the game. He's just flicking on different tabs. He's just we'll give this Lele a go. Who knows? Tord loves throwing away supporters.
Yeah, it's why do I need to draw more cards? I can win with the 6 I have right now.
Tord loves to BM, man. It's amazing. It's like, my next 2 turns are Guzma Guzma game, so
No rush. Yeah.
that's so sick from Todd. That's actually so sick. He's holding on to 3 energies, and he's still like, "What is this Cynthia doing for me right now?"
Yeah, like it's once again, I generally would have picked a psychic or even the Nespel before that Cynthia. Just in case,
Yeah.
like, even if you get let loose, you want the Cynthia out over the energy. But who am I to question feverish Tord? Too much shuffling, he says.
Yeah.
I guess if you have a fever, shuffling can be annoying, so it definitely makes sense. Definitely makes sense to want to get rid of those.
Captain Guzma from Tord. He's just got back to back. He's got treasures for Lele's for more Guzmas. That's all he needs. Best card in the matchup.
Yeah.
He said it himself. It is literally, when you get your Mallies in play, it's all you need. It's genuinely all you need. We joke about it, but he's actually just chilling.
Yeah. And Pedro attempting to respond with an Ultra Guzma, but without choice bands, how you can't KO this Ultra Guzma.
He's missed switch cards as well. He needed to hit third Mally switch to get there, but he is just way behind now. And we must stress, neither of them play Let Loose. There's no second chance saloon for these guys. It's the one supporter is it.
I mean, Pedro mentioning that. Sorry, go ahead.
Might be another hypnosis from Pedro here.
Might be another. Well,
here we go. He can try and Dawn Wings to try and stall Tord for a turn.
Yeah, but we already see the Guzma.
Mm-hmm. Tord's got it wrapped. Yeah.
Are we going to see a relatively quick game one? Not what I was expecting when we were going into this Malamar mirror match, and the hand cam being basically useless right now because there's no cards in Pedro's hand. So definitely a bad situation to be in.
Yeah, I mean, this is all he can do. Has to try and... He might even just go for a Dark Flash. Dark Flash is still so terrible. Every option is terrible for Pedro here.
Yeah.
He's going to Moon's Eclipse just to try and make the game go longer. Maybe it can lead into a Distortion Door knockout later on, but it's just asking for so much, and we know Tord's got the goods.
Yeah, because in order for the Distortion Door knockout to happen, then there needs to be a knockout on Tord's side, and
yeah,
Tord knows that, so why would he ever knock anything out that's not a GX to just win the game?
For sure. Tord doing all the bull search.
Yeah.
Showing Pedro that he's tossing away another treasure. He doesn't need to Lele for his outs. He's going to recharge to the Dawn Wings.
Which... I guess we see the effects of the fever here now.
Like, wait a minute.
Yeah, like what?
Additional BM, just showing him he had the extra Mally anyways.
Yeah. Like, oh, I have an energy to spare even.
Yep. He had treasures to spare. He had energies to spare. He had it all.
Yeah, so next game, Pedro will be going first, hopefully making a big difference, stabilizing a little bit more, and we'll get to see one of those games where I generally think we could see a situation where neither player wants to KO, because then whoever takes the KO loses, because then they get Sky Scorching lighted out of the game.
I mean, we saw how wild the game got with Rukan, Tord v Rukan in a previous mirror. So when both players are more at the races in terms of keeping up with one another, it does become that who blinks first kind of situation. And with none of them having any hand disruption for the other, they can both try and set up in their hands respectively and just wait to pull the trigger on the other player. So very, very interesting back and forth. And now, at least Pedro's going to get to go first. He can have the initiative. And we will hopefully be seeing a far better display from him in Game 2, because he basically wasn't able to play the game that first time around.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna run to the restroom really quickly. I'll be right back with you, okay? Just one second.
Little sis asking why Rukan's on the roster. Because he's the Malamar expert. And he lost a Malamar mirror in this tournament. That's why. Nah, but Rukan's a sick guy. Big figurehead in the community. His list was wild. He's bringing his own stuff. Rukan always likes to experiment. That's kind of what he's known for. Maybe it was a more experimental build. Maybe he was expecting a different meta. With double Coco and an Absol, he was definitely trying to target some other stuff. Sorry, Pedro is saying, where's Nico in the bracket? As we kick into game 2, Tord loses the coin flip. Not that it matters. I'm sure he would be a good sport about it. He's going to give Pedro a freebie, who starts his busted one of, and a board as well. This is a sick hand from Pedro. As long as Stellar Wish can get him into a supporter card so that he doesn't have to put down Lele, that's going to be a crazy good turn 1. Couple ball searches already. Treasure for an energy if he wishes. That's all looking pretty peachy. Really nice start for Pedro here. Much different from last game. He's going to do his ball searches all before the Stellar Wish, of course. He wants to increase the odds of hitting a supporter card turn 1. Tord, not with a too shabby start himself. He's got a couple ball search cards and a supporter. That's all you really ask for from a Malamar deck. Get some Inkays down, maybe a turn 1 attachment if you can. It's pretty much what you're after. I'm going to see Treasure into Stellar Wish. And exactly, Pedro is able to find himself the energy card, so now he can put down a skateboard. He's also going to commit energy by the looks of things to an Inkay, so he can draw an extra card here or two. More ball search. This is going to finish off a crazy good turn 1 for Pedro, basically. Really nice stuff. He could even treasure away something like Ultra, just a treasure into a Tina and then bin the Tina. Something like that might be a play for next turn. Pretty sure he's content to pass it over here. He's having a look for his discard pile to see if it's worth pitching anything else, but he can make all these plays next turn knowing that Tord has no hand disruption. So pretty nice turn 1 for Pedro. The only thing missing is that he doesn't have a turn 1 attachment to his Tina. But yeah, pretty good stuff.
I'm back. So what did I miss?
Pedro's had a amazing turn 1. That's what you've missed. Okay. It's on to Tord now for his first turn.
Can't wait for the hypnosis, says Pedro in the chat. Alright, so yeah, definitely much better setup for Pedro, much nicer, and then like establishing the 3 essentially in case and having 7 cards to start off your next turn. Big deal. Tord not falling too far behind though. He might get that 13k. He could go out into Jirachi, but definitely think establishing that in case is going to be stronger, and neither player being forced to bench a GX, which is also huge.
Yeah, Pedro's able to Stellar Wish into a Lily rather than have to Lele for it, and Tord has a hard Cynthia, so always good to stick with your main game plan of keeping it all non-GX until the Clash of the Titans towards the end of the game. Tord moves his way into a supportless hand though, which kind of hurts him.
Yeah, and ironically finds that 4th Inkay when he was eyeing the Jirachi, so Jirachi could have been the way to get him out of this tricky spot.
Yep.
Very smartly he will thin the deck to maximize his chances of top decking out of this, but we might see a well, no, never mind. Hypnosis.
No hypnosis.
Jirachi's already asleep. Yeah. What am I saying? What am I saying?
Probably not the hypnosis play. He's just going to try and protect the skateboard. He's holding switch anyway, so If for whatever reason Pedro misses a knockout, it won't change what he needs. But yeah, Pedro looks like he's sitting on a pretty good hand himself. He can do some treasure shenanigans, get a Tina into the hand, then out of the hand with Stadium or the other treasure. He can use the second treasure for a Mali. He's going to be doing stuff this turn for sure. Even a Mali knockout in Inke if he has to.
Yeah.
Just pressure. Even that's fine.
Yeah, even that's fine. With 3 Mali set up, it's like 2 is the ideal. I mean, 3 is the ideal, but it's also kind of a luxury with the way the War of Attrition goes down. So definitely not gonna struggle too much if he loses 1 Malamar.
I'm going to see the Stellar Wish now. Pedro looking for even more Bull Search, and it is what he finds. That saves him doing the awkward Malamar attacking Malamar play, I think.
Yeah.
Might still happen, though. It genuinely might still be the play.
Alright.
Distortion Door coming in.
Yep. Would you ever consider attacking with Ultra Charisma here? No, right? There's no reason to do that.
No need. Yeah. You don't mind pitching 1 metal. You basically just need to only ever hold on to 1. When you've got a Stadium anyway, like it feels like you'll always have guaranteed. You're going to see the recharges, the attachment of the basic metal, and just the first swing from Pedro.
Yeah.
Turn 2 attack. Very good.
Yeah.
We saw that was enough to carry Tord to his first win. Now it's role reversal, where Tord currently can't draw many extra cards, and he's not representing a response knockout with his current hand. Lele does change things, though. That's pretty nice.
And it's now Tord will be the one to bench the first supporter, I was going to say, the first GX. He has to, right? He's not going to be really enforced away the Lele. Although history would tell us that he would do that.
I think not this time.
Not this time, right?
Yep, he's going to go ahead and wonder tag. He's looking at switch, stretcher, psychic. It might be tempting to just go for Erica here, to be honest. Holding onto a switch means you could evolve into an extra Malamar.
Yeah, and I mean, just speaking numbers-wise, Cynthia gets you that extra card, right? But since you're putting these 3 backs, you could just that extra card could just be the same card. Whereas if you're using Erica's for 5, you're actually seeing 5 brand new cards, which you definitely like. You don't want to Cynthia into a psychic. You want to Cynthia into an attacker. So I think, like mathematically speaking, it's even better to Erica's here. The trade-off of the 1 card is better, and then you also have access to more cards starting with your next turn.
Yeah, for sure. Feels like the play. Do we see... Well, we see Mali Treasure. Yeah. That means Tord can get the response this turn with a Giratina.
Yeah.
Means he can't use Distortion Door, though.
Oh, yeah, he already Viridian Forested away the energy. So, yeah, no Distortion Door for Tord. And Pedro will be going in for his second Distortion Door, too.
Tord might be considering his own energy drive here. Pedro did damage his own Tina. Could be an option for him if he wishes.
Yeah.
It depends how much he values the just Distortion Door itself, to be honest. Either he sort of sits on the treasure for next turn to forest away Tina, or he just gets it down manually this turn and hopes that Pedro knocking it out will reset the Distortion Door for him. And that seems to be what Tord's going for.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, yes, you also don't want to, like, just shove the Lele in front if you can avoid it. But realistically, all Pedro needs to do is keep bringing back this Giratina, and that means there won't be any pressure for him to Guzma consistently, right? So any 1 Guzma he already has, which we coincidentally see he's keeping in his hand, just means that whenever he's down to 2 prizes, that Lele will close it out for him very easily.
Yep, that's the plan. And Pedro's already got himself Stellar Wish. He's got himself a Guzma. He looks pretty chill. He can do the Tina reset thanks to Stadium, guaranteed, and not have to spend the Beast energy. Everything's looking pretty safe for him right now. He's going to start with the Stellar Wish over the Forest. Which is interesting. He could have just pitched a Dawn Wings or an Ultra Ball here to Forest for 1 first.
Yeah.
But instead, he's going to start off with Stellar Wish, make his decision after that, and then does the Viridian.
There's definitely value in that Dawn Wings in case, for whatever reason, you fall behind. You can use that to pick up the KO on the Lele, but yeah, I don't foresee a situation like that happening in this match.
I mean, Pedro's the one dictating whether or not he'll fall behind. And I can't see a way that he does, really. So I feel it's almost always binned when he still has stretches as well. The Ultra Ball's still a fine pitch. He doesn't really need it at the moment. It's just interesting to see that he did it before the Wish. But regardless, the outcome's still the same. Tina smacking into Tina. Interesting, he went for a Lily rather than a Guzma effect, so Tor can start getting his Distortion Door on the roll.
Yeah. I think because it's the only Guzma he has in his hand, I'd say he wants to, like, that's guaranteed KO lately, right? 2 more Giratinas and then you win the game. So, I mean, you do have Jirachi though, so...
That's the only sort of counter argument. You're expecting yourself to have more Jirachi, but at the same time, if Tord ever has a Guzma, that's the first thing he takes, I think.
Yeah.
So, just guaranteeing that you have it is also very reasonable.
Right, so... I don't think we're gonna see much deviation here at all. Tord especially does want to be a bit careful with his energies. In terms of discarding them with the Viridian, because he does need 1 energy every turn to keep attaching as long as he doesn't find that 3rd Malamar. That's the only relevant thing I see here, and it's something that would put Tord even more behind if it ends up coming to that.
True. But still supportless on his end. He can only, in air quotes, do the response knockout with his own Giratina. And that's exactly what he's going for. Leveling up the prize trade again, probably putting the damage on himself again. And it's back over to Pedro, who can do the same thing. But Pedro is much more happy with this outcome, because he's the one who's basically ready to Sky Scorch at this point.
Yep, there's 2.
And he's going to be the one chugging another prize as well.
Yeah,
a nice easy Viridian for him. Get rid of a second Giratina as well.
Yeah, and I get definitely now is where you would go for the Guzma KO. You avoid the Distortion Door, and now you have the last 2 prizes set up in that Malamar and that Inkay, so you don't even need to Guzma the Lele to win.
Yeah, I can see it. I can definitely see it being the option Pedro's going for. It could just be Distortion Door. Wow, he's actually trying to get the next Malamar ready to go.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
He does have access to double Distortion Door, I guess. Maybe he's trying to set it up so that he'll be able to win next turn.
If he had just done the damage onto the same Malamar and the Inkay, though, couldn't he just do a Guzma play with his Ultra and knock out Lele this turn, and then that gets him straight into GX for win? Yeah. He's already holding on to Ball, an extra card. Maybe that is what he's still going for.
Yeah. It's
just strange that he Distortion Doored to the other Malamar.
Yeah, I mean, now he can't do that, right? Because if he uses Ultra Guzma this turn, if that goes down, then the other bench space has to be for the Ultra Guzma, therefore he can't Distortion Door anymore.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That 1 Distortion Door might cause Pedro a bit of discomfort. I still feel like he's still fine in the same... Like, it just means he can't go for the kill Lele play this turn, or it's a lot less comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, maybe it delays his win by 1 turn, but it's not something that's going to cause him to lose the game at any point.
Interesting. Pedro is definitely having a think about what he can do now. He's been so decisive in his turns, just back to back to back, but these are the decisive moments when the GX attack starts becoming a real possibility. He's slowly thinking about putting down Ultra.
Yeah.
He is going to start charging up to it as well.
Interesting. So, yeah, maybe Pedro can tell us. Well, he's saying he had never read Ultra Cosmos GX attack. So that's definitely an interesting piece of information. And then
should have used Hypnosis.
Hypnosis was another play as well. I mean, the Inkay already is powered up. But yeah, it's like now Pedro...
He was basically guaranteed, but now he's definitely not guaranteed. He's
Yeah.
got damage. He's got Inkay and Jirachi in range for Tord. Tord can only Distortion Door one more time, so the Malamars aren't in range. So you won't lose to Tord's Sky Scorching. So it's still relatively okay. How does he take his... Yeah, I mean, it's actually still fine, I think.
Oh.
It's just that Tord doesn't lose immediately to a Sky Scorching now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Pedro, if this is, I don't know, regionals, best of 3, you're at +3 turns, Pedro wouldn't be able to win next turn. Whereas if that 10 damage, that crucial 10 damage on one Malamar was on that other one, he definitely, all he needs to do is attach the Beast or the Psychic and immediately wins.
I mean, I can't even see any value in the 10 on the other Malamar. There's basically no value to it when you're going to 2 prizes yourself this turn, which was basically always your route.
Yeah.
Feels really weird.
I feel the only value was if you were going in with Giratina and then using that second Distortion Door, right? But other than that...
Yeah, just not happening for him. Huh, interesting. Tord may be given away back into the game, but he is still behind. He's pretty much unable to put his own Ultra down without being in a lot of trouble. He's going to have a look now and see how many switching options are left for Pedro, how many Psych Energy in the discard pile. Got to check this stuff through. So yeah, he's still in a really bad spot. We can't stress that enough.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, doesn't even have the response with an Ultra Necrozma just yet, which is maybe what you have to go for, but like with no other GXs in play.
I think it has to be Giratina. He just does the other Distortion Door and just smacks the active for 130. I can't see many other plays he can go for. And just then set up your Sky Scorching. Basically make Pedro, just then it's a waiting game for Pedro to find Guzma, I guess. So maybe he's thinking, do I try and lower the number of turns he can find a Guzma? But when there's a Stellar Wish around, it always feels so yucky. Tord might even get back Lele here just to deal with Jirachi to make it less likely for Pedro to have some Guzma plays, something like that.
Yeah.
It feels really weird though. It's going to start things off by pitching an Ultra to grab a Psychic Energy.
Pedro just talking smack in the chat. I'm destroying him.
It's over.
Yeah.
Tord really taking his time with it. He's thinking, is there ever a way, with Pedro's slip up, a way for him back into this game? Is there ever a turn that he can take advantage of? The fact that he's putting damage on Jirachi means he's definitely not going for it this turn.
I mean, okay, so here's what I'm thinking. If Tord attacks with Giratina into Ultra Necrozma, that's also now in Sky Scorching Light range. And Pedro cannot take 2 prizes next turn, correct? And then if Pedro knocks out the Giratina, then he can Distortion Door, put that key damage counter on Malamar, and then Tord Sky Scorching Lights for 4 prizes and wins the game.
True. So it's literally just Pedro basically is in a point where he has to pass if he doesn't have a Guzma. This is really the only play Tord can make, but it's forcing Pedro to have the cards. And it's all... Pedro would otherwise literally just announce an attachment and win this turn. This has only been opened up because of Pedro's error. Where's my Tapu Cure? That's been your favourite attack of the tournament, Pedro. Let's see if there's going to be a Stellar Wish now. Tord really bailed out here. Well, Pedro is able to Stellar Wish into Guzma, so he won't just get hit by a Distortion Door and lose the game. But he needs to basically get... Well, he can just do the Guzma play, smack with a Tina quite happily, and then he's chilling. I think the Guzma was basically the only card he needed off this Jirachi this turn, and that's pretty much enough to wrap it up. He just powers up his own Tina here.
Yeah.
How can he lose?
Yeah, that Guzma bailed Pedro out for sure.
Never punished.
Never punished, yeah.
Just start the Jirachi. Easy clap. Never dealt with by Tord. Tord missing Guzma's, his favourite card in the matchup. Basically the whole game. He Ultra Balled away one this game. But he never really found him. Yeah, this is all he needs to do. It's weird that he's doing it with the Ultra, but you can still do it this way because you still have the Sky Scorching option.
Yeah.
I probably would have done it with a Tina, but this is fine.
I mean, you can also load the Tina and be... Yeah, exactly. That Guzma was clutch.
Super powerful from Pedro. I mean, let's just say that it would be over if he put the right damage counter in the right place. But this 10 damage means he can Photon Geyser in this exact spot. So, always planned. Let's put it that way.
Sure. That makes sense. That is crazy. That is honestly crazy. Jeez, and we keep going back to this, like something so small, right? Like both players' skills, there's never a question, right?
Yeah.
It's just that small mishap that ends up making it to where Pedro takes an extra turn to win, right? And requires that Guzma. But then that's the opening that maybe Tord needs to make the comeback. And he had a big chance. Now imagine an Acerola. If Tord was running Acerola here, Pedro would not be happy with that 10 damage. Pedro saying, I'm reading twice the GX this time. Yeah, so now Tord gonna once again try to figure out how to pull this off. Is there any way? I mean, if there is, it might. I mean, we can see Pedro's hand, right? So he Sky Scorching Lights and wins off of that Inkay. But in a weird situation where Tord finds the Beast Energy and gets a KO with a GX. Oh no, but then there's no more Sky Scorching Light. So yeah, now it's basically impossible.
Can Tord... He could, Lele try and trap something. He would have to use Slap with a Jirachi. That would genuinely be what he'd have to do. He'd have to try and trap the Malamar with no energy attached to it, hit it with Slap, hope that Pedro doesn't have a switch card, and then he would have the 4 prizes for his own Sky Scorching. Yeah. But he doesn't have the Slap option.
Yeah.
Slap would be the only thing I see here. Oh, could he energy drive? He could energy drive the Lele. Yeah, he could energy drive this Malamar for 40. And try and trap it. That's got to be his only player, right? He can hit the Malamar with no energy attached.
Yeah, that's true.
That's all he can do.
And that sets up the 4 prizes.
That's got to be his play. And Pedro actually doesn't have an answer right now.
Yeah.
Do it. Be the hero, Tord.
You go for the one that has no energy, though, right?
Yeah, of course. Of course, yeah.
Oh,
he's
wow.
doing it. Yeah, we had to think of a way. There had to be something. Oh no, Pedro. Not like this. Don't get punished. Oh, Pedro. I can't believe you've done this. Oh no! Pedro, what have you done?
10 damage. Well,
yeah, this works, right? This works.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about finding your win condition, right?
Yeah. Pedro.
Top deck switch.
Oh my god, no, surely not. Oh, thank. Get punished, Pedro. Oh no.
Wow. The
Well
feverish
done,
plays, man. The feverish plays.
I'm so happy. Oh my god. I mean,
You're so happy for Pedro.
it's just such a cool, like, it's just super rewarding when you get to see plays like that come off out of errors, like just obvious errors. Tord, you're the best. You're the hero we all deserve.
Wow.
Never surrender. This is why you don't scoop.
This is why you don't
Oh,
scoop.
poggers. He did it.
Yikes. Big yikes.
That's amazing. Oh, Pedro, what have you done? Just spamming the sad emoji. Read the GX for the third time right now. Oh, I thought he was going to drop the you have a good deck. Oh, man. Oh, dear.
Oh, wow. It seemed like Pedro was in the driver's seat all game, and then this happens. That is crazy.
It's literally just the mistake from Pedro. There's literally no win condition for Tord if he just puts the damage in the right place.
Yeah.
This opens the window just enough for Tord to make the sneaky play, and it ended up doing enough. Pedro not holding on to any or switching cards or any draw support at all. He was just drawn into those energy cards. So pretty insane plays from Tord, getting away with one there. And Pedro letting us know in chat that he's not experienced playing Malamar.
Yeah.
And he was able to Tord was able to steal the win from underneath him, it seems, in that last game.
Yeah. I would have put money on seeing a game 3 in that one, but wow. Definitely a big turn of events. I don't know, if I were Pedro, I would be arguing that it was another misclick. I mean, it's just, oh my gosh. That was crazy. That was super, super crazy. And yeah, now we have Tord advance into the grand final against Jimmy Pendarvis. 4-time regional winner versus 3-time international champion. Both incredibly accomplished players. Zorak Lucario, Lycanroc versus Malamar. What do you think?
It's a pretty split down the middle matchup, I think. Obviously, Tord not playing choice bands might favour Jimmy a little bit, but Jimmy's got a lot of dead weight in his deck. The Lucario not putting in any weight at all. Those are just going to be trade baits, basically.
Yep.
And Tord's list is simple, and that's always going to bode well for just making sure you get set up. So I can see the raw potential of one-hit knockouts from Ultra Necrozma. That's always the thing that you're hoping can be the big difference in the matchup. Whereas Jimmy has one big knockout option, and then he can just try and Grinch down Malamars. I think he's already beaten Ultra Necrozma. It was Pedro that he beat in Swiss, right? The Jimmy.
Yeah.
Well, not in Swiss, but in the group matches.
In the group matches,
so
indeed.
He's got experience against the matchup, and we saw he was very proactive at knocking out a Malamar at every single opportunity. And it feels like if it worked for him in the groups, it'll be the same strategy he applies in the final.
Yeah, I mean, we also know Tord and Pedro have very similar lists, so obviously Tord not affected by the Alolan Mog. That shouldn't come into play here as it did against Robin. It's all going to be about that crucial, dangerous rogue and how Tord is able to come back from that, right? Like if Tord doesn't fall too far behind with his setup, then losing one Ultra Necrozma is not going to be a big deal because the following one will be able to take at the very least, or will be able to get at least 2 attacks of, right? Most likely against GXs, so that could be the differential here.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely going to be what Tord's hoping could be the case. If he can let that Ultra tank and take a second one shot, that's going to be huge. And Jimmy's going to try and just limit his output at every corner with some Malamar plays a big knockout somewhere with a Lycanroc. Going to keep Tord honest. Make sure that Tord's always drawing cards and always having the answers to respond and build up extra Malamars. Tord playing the 4 Inkay and the Ditto and double Stretcher. He has a lot of recovery for them. So as long as he can get it's more about him having optimal turn 1 and 2. Those are the crucial turns on Tord's side of the field. If those go to plan, he's going to be well set. If it's subpar and there's only 1 or 2 Inkays, Jimmy can just snipe one out early. It's just going to be pretty easy for Jimmy to stay out of range and get value from Ace of Rollers and whatnot. So that's going to be pretty much the defining point of this matchup.
Yeah. Should be a pretty interesting dynamic here. A lot will depend on who goes first as well. I think obviously winning the coin flip can be, or is always pretty big, especially in these sort of like setup decks. But yeah, if you're ready, Joe, I'd love to jump in to watch this grand final.
Who's going to be the first Tablemon Invitational winner? Great bragging rights among some of the top players.
Definitely.
These are clashes that we don't get to see all too often. Maybe once in a internationals type thing, they'll clash off against each other. So this only happens every few months that these players get to test against each other sometimes. So seeing these clashes is such a cool experience. And now there's the prize money on the line and bragging rights as well. So this is going to be a big one.
Yeah. All right. So if you guys are ready, we'll start in 3, 2, 1, go.